Okay, I believe we are officially recording, so welcome to everybody, especially a thanks to our hosts for having us here today. It is our absolute pleasure to be able to spend time in what I think is one of the most unique, beautiful, and fascinating spaces that the city of Chicago has reclaimed within the last 10 years after what for me was decades of driving underneath a dilapidated homeless structure that was on the brink of ruin that only came into being by the results and efforts and hard work of an investor group, property managers, and leasing agents who now present to us this tremendous structure known as the old post office. So Jay is going to help me by filming. I'm going to ask our hosts to introduce themselves. Dutch, I'm going to ask you to just follow as nearly as you can so that you can hear well. And otherwise, I turn it over to the three of you to introduce us to the space. Garstinen, Cushman and Wakefield, Dr. Roche, Cushman and Wakefield.
As Matt's going to tell you, who represents the ownership of the building, 2.4 million square foot building, 99% leased.
2.4 million square feet, 99% leased.
We happen to have two 85,000 square foot tenants that we moved into the building in the last few years.
Please check into the handouts that I gave to you that will show you some of the size and specs of the building. I'm going to hand them out now for a couple of people to share. Just take one, pass them on, share them around, please.
You represent those people. You don't represent the building. That's the guy who represents the building and the guy who's done an incredible job of building the whole building up.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, Matt Whipple with Telos. So we represent the ownership group, which is a group out of New York called 601 West. We're actually the largest owner of commercial office space in Chicago for about 10 million square feet. The old post office is a 2.4 million square foot building that's included in their portfolio. What's really fun about coming to this building now for you is you're going to see what $1 billion does to transform a building. And as was said before, what's unique about this building was built in 1921. It was the old post office for Chicago. And then in 1996, they moved to a new structure just to the south of this building. And this building sat vacant 20 years. Fires, floods, a lot of bad things happened in this building because it was such a behemoth that a lot of people didn't know what to do. So the previous groups that wanted to come in and transform this had grand ideas. They wanted to do a casino. They wanted to do residential. They wanted a water park. All those failed. Our group has done big. I've seen this. Their focus is on doing office. But what's transformed in that is you have this structure, this beautiful architectural history, uniqueness, and business. Here of the progressive office. So what you'll see as we walk through this, we've got so much scale. We were able to create office. What an owner wants to do is they want to connect with them. And you'll see as we go through this building how when you're an owner of a company, how to look at this great space. They also like ways to make out of that space, to utilize this. They're excited about coming to this building. So we walk into the building, we've got this grand block. And then we walk into, this is still public area. So we've got a brand new food hall called so there's 10 local food providers in this food hall. Again, this is open to the public. So why don't we continue on through? And this is more heavy. Feel free to ask questions.
All right, we are struggling a little bit to get the different speakers to be heard. Jay is videoing. I'm on my phone. We'll try to get ourselves nearby and I will repeat for us. So I'm going to find one of our co-hosts here since I'm going to talk to him and talk to Jack here and say, all right, so how many tenants do you represent in this building right now? Two different.
Our firm represents probably 5 tenants.
Your firm represents 5 tenants in the building right now, and they occupy each about in total how much space?
Well, 2 of them are about 87,000 square feet each.
2 over 87,000 each.
There's
Okay.
probably another one that's 45, another
Okay.
one that's 40, and then one that's really small, like a couple thousand.
So almost 200,000 in total square feet between the 5.
240. Actually,
Okay.
what am I saying? We actually represent CBOE. We didn't do that.
Oh, you got CBOE here too.
Another 200,000 square feet on top of that.
Okay. Average rent per square foot across them, approximately in what range?
What's interesting about this building is it has a Class L tax
Okay.
benefit. So, in exchange for the work that they did, the city granted them some tax raise. So, it's over 12 years. The first 10 years, taxes are 60% less than they would normally be. 11th year, they're 40% less. The 12th year, they're 40% less. And then that can be renegotiated again. It's a huge advantage in the building because taxes in a brand new building are 15, 18 bucks a foot. Here they're about 5.
15 to 18 bucks a foot down to 5. Okay.
Tax, actually, it's a little, 6, what's the tax number? $6?
$6, yeah. 6 and
Okay.
11.
So that's a huge advantage in terms of the overall
Yeah.
gross rent. Net rents in the building are
Low 30s.
low 30s.
Low 30s.
So you tack that tax number of 6 and operating expense of probably 10 or 11.
Okay.
So it's called it. They're asking actually right now they're asking 35 net plus another $50.
50 bucks a square foot approximately. Got that, gang?
For a new building. I mean, the newer
With
buildings
these types of
downtown
amenities,
Chicago,
yeah.
the big buildings,
Yep.
70 to 80.
70 to 80. So this represents this.
Trophy, top tier.
Yeah.
So it's a giant building that's old with a brand new
Yeah.
interior made on the side.
Yeah. Outstanding. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to see if I can't catch the gentleman talking at the front too. Here is our main host.
They can come and meet with people at these breakout spots. All right, let's continue this way.
He keeps running away from me. Get a shot, Jay, over there of that awesome logo. So this is the main common area, and now we're heading into my favorite, this gym. This gym is one of the. All right, can we put the gloves on, me and you? Is that okay? All right, I gotta go grab them real quick. All right, so Jay's gonna go ahead and, yeah, why don't you keep flowing through just a little bit to the desk, give everybody a chance to step down in here without being obnoxious. Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
So this is Boxcar. This is our fitness center.
28,000 square feet.
28,000 square feet.
Get your workout in. And it's just a fantastic amenity. And this is, on the other side, this is something that's so important to tenants, to attracting them to lease space in your building. They want
You're right. Somehow we did hit mute there along the way. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having us. So we're reserving the boxing ring for the Dutch who showed up late today. We're going to have Mortal Kombat in there. Last person standing is the only one that passes the module. If you're watching along at home, I would be checking the fact sheet to take a look at some of the parameters in terms of size. Jay's going to be taking a look at. Here are some of the images of what this building looked like on the inside before they did the renovation in this hallway, for example. Over on the further wall is a picture of what the building looks like from the outside with all of its dilapidated and broken down windows. It was truly a haven for homeless people. And if you take a look at this final picture here, this was the old Chicago post office. So what you actually have were all these sorting machines was tens of thousands of pounds of all of this metallic structure that was used for mail sorting and delivery that all had to be removed by helicopter from the building in order to excavate the interiors and create all of this giant brand new open space, which you may have heard the guy saying is rented at $50-ish now, $50-ish per square foot on average, compared to the 80 or so that buildings like this would command a few blocks away. So just taking us quickly inside into what would be raw space. This would be the thing that the Cushman Wakefield representatives would work with the tenant to work with the building management and say, all right, how would we like to build this thing out to make it into the type of office space that we would want to be able to rent in order to be able to host our employees on site. Ooh, this guy's walking fast. I think we're heading to the library now, which is one of my favorite little building or features. And then there's the, I think, ping pong tables, pool tables, and bocce ball courts, and the bar over to the right. Let's see if he's going to let us in. He's got us at the door, but
Heads down, cell phones, no space. The reason why we did this is we knew with this big four-plate building, it was going to be catered much more to the open tech corporate user that you have, your larger kind of seasoned workstations. Everybody will have, of course, their nice work desk, but people get distracted, and we wanted to create a space that if you really need to go down, focus, get away from your desk, bang out some analysis, come down here into the library.
so we'll take a step in, but we need to be quiet in case there's anybody else in here. Jay will take us on a little view. It looks like we're empty right now, which is the good news. As he was describing, this is the space that's supposed to be for quiet work.
And this has been really well received. Now we move into more fun hangout space. You'll notice that we've got a lot of bars in this building. I guess we like people drinking a lot.
Bear Construction did do some of the GC, so
They did. So this is our tenant lounge. This is exclusive to tenants in the building. This will be activated once we get those numbers up in the building. We're like 40 to 50%. The same group that does the food hall will be doing that. So as you're a tenant, sure, you can go to the food hall, but that's for the public. You know, your own private. So they'll have coffee, grab you a salad, sandwiches. We'll have alcohol in the afternoon. We'll have fun after a long work day. And then you got every game of that. Again, all the space is Wi-Fi enabled, so if you want to come down to the bar, the laptop, you can do that too. Indoor bocce, who doesn't want that?
indoor bocce, standard feature in most
Standard
Chicago
feature.
buildings.
Yes.
Jay, if you maybe follow me over this way for just a minute, we'll take a peek in terms of orienting ourselves. So the Chicago River runs along the west edge of the loop. So if we take a look outside here, that is called the Wedding Cake Building right there. And then the one that is to the right, that is the black one, is the Willis Tower. That's our 110-story building in the city of Chicago. Running along then the edge of the river, we're sitting 1 block or so west of the river from just on the opposite side of the outside of what we call the downtown loop area.
having fun at the same time, and giving them a reason to want to come to this building. I mean, a lot of people when they walk in here, like, yeah, I want to work here, right? Yeah. So here's one more unique space. This is one of my favorite spaces. It's an old bank vault. If you look at the door, it's pin pad enabled. This is where we inked our first deals when we were in the market selling this building. So what I didn't mention before is our client acquired this asset in 2016. The first tenant started moving in 2019. So as you can imagine, with a full redevelopment of a building of this size, it was a long design and construction process, right? So what we ended up doing is we built this out immediately. So this is a 1,500 square foot space. Our tenants use this all the time for like board meetings, special client events, you know, bring in a celebrity, a chef and do a special dinner in this space that no one else has access to. Tenants only. And we did all of our presentations here. So we basically asked everybody to close their eyes, don't look at all the craziness going on in the rest of the building, and sold the dream in this space. And this is where we locked in some of our initial big tenants like Walgreens. So a lot of great history for the building in this particular space.
That you guys live in a different part of the world, people think Bang Bang, Al Capone. This is, I don't know if you know who Al Capone is, but he was a historic gangster way back when. But they had speakeasies, rooms that were underground in buildings that nobody really knew about. And this is, I kind of see it as a little speakeasy. Most people don't know it's here. It's kind of a thing that's, yeah, it's kind of careful you walk in here, but a very unique part of the building. Yeah. So,
Yeah, some of the questions are leaning towards timing to get permits for a space like this, recognizing that this building too, I believe, is, Jack, this space is a national landmark, is that right? So the permissions that are required are extraordinary as compared to a natural permit.
There's a lot of features in the building that I'll point to you when we get to the space that they weren't able to touch, right? Like if you're
Right.
with a house.
Right. So you, yeah.
We can't get out the door.
So the interesting thing about this building is it's actually three separate buildings that are interconnected. The major of which, the center building, underneath it, you drive an expressway through the main part. And so the building is relatively disconnected in different places. So not all of the elevators go to the right place, but we're going to go ahead and try and make our way out to what is something that is probably appreciable by the Dutch, which is a sustainable rooftop garden that has been green spaced and is actually, I believe, an active honey farm with beekeepers who tend to the bees and provide the honey for sale for a nonprofit foundation. Additionally, you're going to find up there that there are sports spaces, I think, for basketball and maybe tennis and pickleball. But we got to go find our way to these other funky little elevators in order to get up there. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself for just a minute as we make our way. Matt is describing how this building is a national, state, and city landmark, which then provides a lot of attraction for people who want to work here, in addition to creating some of the difficulties in construction. If you ever do visit, then you'll see that Chicago has a couple of them, including Wrigley Field, which is the stadium in a neighborhood that houses one of our baseball teams, the Chicago Cubs.
Exactly, that's why I like it.
There's not a lot of people in the space. There are people, so we go through, we just kind of stay together and just kind of keep it somewhat quiet. This company's called True Blue. It's a staffing company. They've been in the space for about a year. But they really haven't, most people never even came in and started working from home. The space actually won an architectural contest in the city last year. Every year they have a coolest spaces in the city. The space in the architecture firm that designed it won that award. So it's a unique space and it's brand new and there will be a few people in there. Just stay together and just kind of keep it to a low level.
All right, we're going in an elevator now, so if we should lose you, we'll just log back on in a minute.
Where were you when you Americans watching? You on
Oh, I was on a plane.
Were you?
Yeah, but luckily I got lots of pictures from them telling them. All right, so here we go into the private space. 80,000 square feet rented. Yep. And they have one of the bulls down there at the end too. Was that one of the originals? Yeah, so Chicago had a street art festival. Gosh, that was 20 years ago, was the bulls?
Yeah.
And then they auctioned them off in the end. Yeah. Do you? Yeah.
No, it was just called Cows on Parade. It was just an art. People from a lot of artists all over Chicago. They actually be going
Yeah.
really painting. Those came from.
Yeah. Kind of like the Eindhoven Glow Festival, but with painted bulls instead. Mm.
Where did those originally come from?
You could have said anywhere but Germany and they would have been happy.
class.
Oh, so we've made our way into a conference room, which is one of the reconstructed spaces, which frankly isn't that cool. Wait until we get upstairs outside onto the deck, though. But Jack from Cushman was just asking if, when we're done, you would be willing to share a couple of the investor pitch decks because he knows the 29 North Wacker building, which didn't sell. Is that right?
It was bought by Allstate.
It was bought by Allstate, so okay. Thank you. Allstate ended up buying 29 North Wacker. Was that 17 million on? Was that the offer? I don't remember.
I think they got it for a steal. It was truly the best club.
Yeah. Okay. So there you have it, a corporate entity coming in and buying an investment property rather than to occupy it. And that's one of the buildings that you all have the opportunity to pitch us on. You've been kicked out of the meeting? All right. Do I need to? Jay got kicked out because we don't love her. Let's see, do I have to readmit you? You're good, you're back in? Yes. Okay, cool. So now we're looking at the true blue space, which is, as you can see, a massive space. This is the space that if you look up at the ceilings, right, you get the industrial look of the high ceilings and the old concrete structures to go down with what is basically cubicle hell, but set in a very open environment where I'm seeing 10% of the space occupied by people. So people are paying rents to occupy the space, but the workforce is still choosing to work remotely. I mean, look at all this infrastructure and computers and in furniture and fixtures. And I mean, people's names on things, and they're not here at all. So what Matt is talking about right now is that this company then is choosing to sublet some of this space so that they can generate some revenue for themselves in and amongst the costs that they're paying to occupy the space. Yeah, this is a really neat drop ceiling that they've got to give you an architectural aesthetic feel that's down beneath all of this concrete structure that's overhead. Wow. There are reminiscences for me of the old Chicago Board Options Exchange with its open outcry trading floors, and how when investments in commodities went to online brokerage, you lost all of that face-to-face trading interaction. Feels kind of similar here in terms of the amount of space that is available. I was just saying how this reminds me of the Board of Trade and what it became in the early 2000s as all the pits went digital.
The employees here could easily be in the space and having a great experience. They decided this is more of a call center use that
Okay.
yes, rather be making those calls from their house. Hard for I think a lot of people to understand that that's what they would rather do than come to this.
And they signed a lease pre-COVID. Got it.
So so True Blue, Keenan's this client, they were up in Lincoln Park.
Okay.
In one of Melk's buildings on Kingsbury.
Yep.
Right near that Whole Foods.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
south of it. So they were there forever, and they had like
130,000 square feet up there. They squished down to 80, and now there's 5 to 10% occupation of this right now, and they're not mandating a return to work.
That's currently what the scenario is.
Okay. I know. I keep looking for the 4X pit going.
It feels like that, right?
Give me, I'll take 30.
Yeah, and he's been through, I'm sure you've been through every space in the building now. There are some pretty impressive like this spaces.
I mean, this is their entire cafeteria that just Steve-O's is. Pepsi's here too.
Oh, cooler space. There's a lot of spaces.
How much do they have? They have a couple 100,000 square feet.
460,000.
460,000 square feet.
They're buying out of 100,000 for another large tenant called Vizient.
Okay. Bizient.
Yes.
Okay. No. All right.
To the roof?
To the roof. We're going back into some elevators, so I'm going to go ahead and mute myself because we may lose connectivity. But that to me was a fascinating overview of what's going on in the world right now. And you're finding that it's overly convenient, not recognizing. He's describing how most leases in this space were 10 to 15 years long when originally signed, but then signed in 2019 or early 2020, right before COVID hit. And so Uber had 450,000 square feet originally, and now they've pared back by selling out or buying out of their lease back 100,000 square feet because, just like we saw in that previous, there's no space available. So Jay is my handy camera person and doing an outstanding job. I'm going to go for a little while as her data takes a little break. And we are now going to start heading up to the roof as we're talking more and more about how this space is just exactly where I would want to work if I was a young professional. It's social, it's beautiful, it's historic, it's open, yet the people who sign leases are having troubles getting their employees to come back in there because many of them, like you, just want to follow work remotely, just like you want to follow your courses remotely. And we talked about the challenges that exists in terms of the passing along of information and the building of social networks that becomes critical to your eventual ascension. This gentleman that we're walking with right now, who represents the building, I've never met before, but in just talking to him, he knows just about every building within a mile radius of here. This is going to be a new contact that we all share, because this is the kind of person that will know folks, that will help us do things like get jobs, sign deals. All right, Jay's back, so I'll turn my camera off. I'm gonna go ahead and mute as we hit another elevator here in a minute. Hi. Matt was just describing about how the 11th floor, which roughly represents 48,000 square feet, was the most protected by historic landmark status. So they carved out what they called the Pony Express, which is them then doing direct short-term, more mobile leases. So that if you're a young startup company and you just want to grab the space for, I don't know, what are they doing, dailies, weeklies, monthlies?
They'll lease it to you for 6 months or a year.
6 months to years.
It could be anywhere from like 1,000 square feet, 800 feet, all the way up to like maybe 5,000 or 7,000 feet. Most tenants in this building are huge.
Right.
So, but if you have project space and you need extra space, that's where you go take space.
That's some of the overflow too. Yeah. Okay.
How many percent of the leases are that kind of?
The small,
Yeah,
tiny, just one. It's like maybe 40,000 feet out of the whole building.
All right, so we're stepping into a raw space. Thank you. That is still currently under construction as we make ourselves out to what I think is one of the statement pieces here. How do you pitch this outdoor space when you talk to tenants?
So, well, specifically this space right here is actually a pylon, and there's 4 of them. So there's one in every corner of the building right now. This is being marketed to a tenant to use individually for themselves. So, so a prospect of the building would look to lease this, which is about 10,000 square feet, as a marketing center, conference type setup. For the outside, it sells itself, kind of, right? It's the largest outdoor park building by a long shot in the United States.
The largest outdoor park on top of a building by a long shot, because we're approximately at the 9th-ish floor, 13th floor. And as I described before, that this is a unique building. It's actually 3 separate buildings with no natural path from one through to the other, with the exception of this, which is leveled in order to be able to get from one end to the other. But here we are, and Jay, if you take a peek up here, what is the actual name of the wedding cake building? I only know it as the wedding cake building.
311 South Wacker.
311 South Wacker, for those of you looking at 29 North Wacker. It's only 4 blocks south of there.
Very polarizing building. A lot of people love it or hate it.
Yep.
I'm on the like side.
It was built while I was growing up, so I have an affinity towards it. Whereas I didn't realize, and Jay, if you catch the top of the black building, when I was growing up, the Sears Tower was the largest in the world. And now it's number 20 or something only.
3 in the United States, I think.
Yeah. So this is the skyline view looking back eastward of some of the major structures. Yeah.
This building was really kind of considered like, oh, you're kind of the way far southwest loop. What about transportation? Like when you're up here, that's the main suburban train line, which is Union Station. We got our main bus terminal. It's across the street. The building literally sits on top of the highway. So anybody driving from the west, from the north, from the south, it all converges at this building. you probably have heard of the CTA line, our raised train lines and our subway system. 1 block, 3 blocks, literally in the heart of everything. So anybody coming from urban or suburban, get in this building is about as easy as it gets. So let's.
This is to me what most people who don't know Chicago walk away from, is the amazement at the size of our structures. That they don't get a skyline like this in Amsterdam, in Eindhoven.
60 million square feet in basically a 2-mile radius.
60 million square feet. 160 million square feet.
Just office.
Just office in a 2-mile square radius.
I think is taller than I think any building.
If you're being on the side.
No, I mean most buildings in Amsterdam are not.
No, most buildings in Amsterdam are.
Yeah, OPO, Willis Howard, the buildings themselves would be larger than their entire office.
Yeah.
Component.
Rotterdam would be the only competitor because they do have a more new office space build out since they were a flattened city after World War II. So they get a glimpse of what our skylines might look like, but maybe 1/100th of what we see. Are the bees then dormant in the winter time?
But we've got the
We saw the beekeeper last time I was here.
It's a walking trail. So to give you a sense of scale, this is a 1/4-mile track. This walking track.
Al was asking about the beekeepers.
Yeah. Yep.
Jack?
I am a beekeeper.
Oh, you're a beekeeper also?
Not these, but I do have 6 hives.
Let's go.
So,
Why are you looking at those?
we're now stepping on to the natural, I think it looks like a clay hard court for basketball. I don't think you can play football up here, though.
Not bad. These are, I don't know if you guys play paddle tennis?
Yeah, it's really coming up now.
So these are actually heated paddle tennis courts.
So heated paddle tennis courts across from us. When we were coming up the elevator, Jay, if you take a look, there are what we call 4 pylons. If you look in that corner is the first square structure, the one that we just came out of, anchors. That's the far end, and then the far southeast corner of it. These are the 4 pylon building anchors that connect all 3 of those structures. Because the structure now that we are walking on is actually above the expressway. I don't think we can see a view of it, but if we get over to that opposite wall, you'll see all of the traffic coming underneath where we're standing right now. Sorry. I had to jump through the grass for a second there.
Scott, you're pylon there.
So, he's saying that that's Uber's pylon, and they're building a private deck for themselves outside up here. Vizient is the firm that subleased from Uber. They're building a private area around the pylon as well, because I think we're on the 13th floor right now.
Get outside your office and get into something like this. And the whole idea is a lot of companies don't want their people, they want to come here in the morning early. You can eat, you can exercise, you can drink, you can socialize, you can play. And the only thing you can't do is sleep. But business owner makes your employees very, very happy to come to work.
We can still power nap on the desks, can't we?
We can power nap out here.
In amongst the thistles.
Yeah, well, this is in the spring and summertime. That's why. It's absolutely spectacular in terms of the colors and the flowers.
Yeah,
It's a full-time job.
This I think should speak to you all the most, because they are truly on the forefront of sustainable thinking and environmental engineering. And this is.
We have also like green buildings.
Yeah.
We have trees around the side. Look at the balconies right there. We breathe in them.
Yep.
Yeah. So for us, this is a big deal. Right. We're falling behind our tour guides, so we're going to step up our pace just a little bit here. Yeah, we're trying to figure out if Jay is frozen or if it's me. I don't know. The connection is not that great. Tell you what, Jay. Why don't you, can you turn your camera off? See if that even works. Yeah, you just take over from here for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay, the absolute producer, audio visual director of the Year Award. We didn't bother to give you any sunshine tags. We didn't want to offend you. I remember Nick from Bear talking about some of the engineering challenges with having to tape what was a hit tradition roof.
Yeah, you know, we carry the amount of steel that was put in there is insane.
Yep.
Yes.
And to be able to know that you built a structure that was
Yeah, all the way to one.
Watching them rip off the roof and putting them all in bags of helicopter everything together.
Yeah.
For like
Next,
months.
we got a 2 or 1.
You know, one, if everybody's leaving?
Yeah.
Fine.
yeah, I believe see if you just get jobs here, occupy some of the space, or we can get you a leasing agent if you'd like to lease your own space, possibly. But yeah, pocos cementos. Stuff sideways. And here we are back into the main lobby. Institutional knowledge to hear that you have not only a respected appreciation for the space, but just a deep love for your job at the City of Chicago. You represented that well today.
I appreciate that very much. Yes.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead then, and we're going to say our goodbyes. So why don't we go ahead and hang up the meeting, and we'll go back to being in person. Let me get these two gentlemen, no, not this gentleman, this gentleman here, to basically say thank you publicly for your willingness to accompany us on this tour. It was absolutely our pleasure. Where's my other chap?
Thank you very much.
He's being accosted by others, so we'll just point and say, Jack D, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you, and goodbye. Leave.